Hello everybody, welcome back to my shop. I have a quick video here on my turntable. I built this guy several months ago and did a video on it. Hopefully you watched it and got something out of it. If not, I invite you to go back and watch it. I like this a lot. I've used it. If you've watched my recent videos, you've undoubtedly seen me using it several times. A couple things. When I first built it, I had a 6 RPM motor in it. And at the time I made the video, I was commenting it seemed a little fast. But when I started editing, I often slowed down the rotation. So curiously, when I was posting this video, I provided a link to the motor that I used, and I discovered, lo and behold, that the manufacturer actually made a 3 RPM motor, which seemed more suited for what I wanted. I went out and bought it and installed it, and that's the one that's in this guy now, and I like that a lot more. Another improvement I'd always envisioned for this was to put a larger disc on it, and I just haven't gotten around to making one. However, I was in a craft store and I found this guy, and it's made of MDF, nothing fancy, wasn't very expensive, and I think I'm going to use this. So the original turntable has a hole in the middle from when I used a router template to cut this circle. And all I need to do is find the center of this guy, drill a hole and put a pin in it, and that will be a larger top for this turntable when I need it. So common center finding jig is this guy here on the straight edge. If you put the circle into the two jaws, then you can see the center is bisected by this line here. And by cutting a couple lines, you can find the center of a circle. A lot of people have made jigs specifically for this. I never have. Kind of depends on the size of the circles you're dealing with. To find the center of a circle, you need 2 squares. I'm using these pieces of acrylic as spacers. And you line the circle up on the framing square. And you very carefully line up the rafter square. And put a little mark. And we'll rotate the circle back in place against the square. Square back in place, line it up with the corner, make another mark, rotate it, make another mark, and there we have the middle of the circle to easily within 1/2 millimeter or better. Just cut a piece of this framing nail with a hacksaw. I'd like this hole to be pretty precise, but my drill press doesn't have the capacity to be able to drill into the center of the circle. So I'm going to use this simple jig to help guide me. So I want to drill about 1/4 inch. So I set it up so that the jaws are going to bottom out on the jig when I'm drilling to approximately the correct depth. That fits in there nice, a little glue, and we'll be ready to roll. And that's looking pretty good. It's just a coat of white latex paint. Brighten it up a little bit. Put a coat of linen white latex paint on the back. Give it a little bit of humidity stability. And I'm choosing this paint because I have it. And I'm more than happy to get rid of it. So I'm putting on a second coat of white paint just to make it look good. And again, I'm using this paint because this is what I have. I got a little bit left in this can. And just thought I'd point out, you know, this is a decent enough brush, but this paint is so thick. It's like trying to brush on a McDonald's triple thick shake or something. And I'm getting really heavy brush marks, and I don't know if they're going to settle out. It doesn't really matter on this project. I don't need it to look perfect. But that's the difference between a wall paint and, you know, a good quality trim paint. When I'm doing a project for a client and paint's involved, I don't use wall paint on the trim because I just don't think it looks good. The brush marks are just too heavy. So there are trim paints that you can get out there, and if you've watched my videos, you've probably seen me use it. But this will still look good, obviously good enough for this, and maybe a little texture won't be so bad. I'm just going to lightly drag the bristles, try to even out the brush marks. And we'll be doing good. I did the underside with 2 coats with another old can of paint that I have. That's a linen white. You're not going to see it, so good opportunity to use it. Well, here she is all finished up and ready to roll, and there's a future project sitting on it. A little foreshadowing there. I do like the turntable, very nice. My one regret, now that I've been using it a little bit, is common wall paint these days has a property where it seems to stay tacky forever. I think I looked it up one time. It was a phenomenon known as blocking. It's a relatively new phenomenon, I guess, the last, 10 years or so. You don't really notice it when the paint's on the wall, but you do notice it if you paint a piece of wood, like a shelf or a cabinet, and paint tends to grab onto certain things that were sitting on it. I'm going to try to move this and maybe you'll be able to hear it a little bit. Kind of a clicking, ticking noise as the tackiness of the paint kind of releases. But I think with time, in my dusty shop, it'll get a little bit of a prophylactic effect. It'll be coated with enough dust where it'll stop sticking. That is one of the ways people recommend you deal with it. Dust whatever you have with something like talcum powder, and that will get rid of the tackiness, or coat it with a polyurethane. So I'm happy with the new turntable. I think it's a nicer upgrade to what I had before. Hopefully you got something out of the video. And if you do, leave me a like, leave me a subscribe, leave a comment. I love to read them. And as always, keep your eyes out for the next one.